Hello everyone and welcome back to Suzerain, where I strongly suspect we're going to be in the later stages of the campaign now. So we're going to have to make things work in a hurry. We're still trying to fix the economy with the limited time we have left before, well, who knows, before an upcoming election or an assassination attempt, or I don't really know what to expect. But initially we've got some issues with the gendarmerie here, which suggests there's been some political issues going on. So we're going to read the report, starting with the gendarmerie police issue. A massive miscommunication between the Interior and Gendarmerie has resulted in a railed, faded, and vesseled. The Ministry of Defence and Interior have put the blame on each other. They'll be gathering soon to solve the ongoing dispute within the security. As to be expected, the Ministry of Defence and the Ministry of the Interior are not best buddies. And there's also a radical journalist killed en route to an interview. A devastating incident in Vesselt has shaken the journalism community. A reporter from the Radical was killed while travelling to interview Robar Lemon, the influential founder of the State Educator Corps and a known ally of Tarquin Sol. This event has sent shockwaves across the city and is currently under thorough investigation. The motives behind the act and its political ramifications on the press freedom remains a topic of great concerns. This was from the Radical. I wonder if they speak about it. They don't speak about it in their own newspaper just yet. They mostly talk about Lucy and Gallade. That could, of course, change. So what's the issue, then? We need to mediate in this dispute. I arrived in the city of Vessel with my new vice president after receiving an emergency meeting request from Joseph and Lilius. I've seen reports of a recent issue that rose between the Sworddish police forces and the gendarmerie units of the city. The report said that an operation against the drug trafficking gang in Vessel failed due to miscommunication. It was not hard to guess what this meeting was going to be about. We entered the city hall and made our way to the second floor, and I could hear Joseph and Lilia's voices echoing through the hall. I opened the door to the meeting room. The two ministers did not even realise. "This is unacceptable! How dare the police meddle in the affairs of the gendarmerie?" "It was your men who started this ridiculous and meddled with an ongoing police investigation." The voices growing louder and louder. "Rural security is my jurisdiction, and your men were way outside of Vesselt. Miss Lancia, Miss Graff, please remain calm. What is the problem?" "Mr. President, Mr. Vice President. Apologies, but Miss Graff here fails to understand her place." "No, Mr. Lancia, you are the one who does not understand his place. If you continue to do so, you will pay for it one day." That's enough. Calm down, both of you. I'm really trying hard to stay calm, Mr. President, and Miss Graff, you are pushing your boundaries. Okay, Lilius, what's happened? Mr. Greaster was tasked with the investigation of a drug trafficking ring in downtown Vesselt. We found the evidence of a drug stash located in the outskirts of the city. We had to act quickly to put an end to the criminals we have been watching for some time, so we immediately sent our police units to catch them and find the drugs in the compound. Mr. Lansing and the gendarmerie did not notify us that they were also moving against the same target. As a result, criminals got away and we lost months of progress. Isn't there a line of communication between the two of you? There is, but the Minister of Defence decided to avoid notifying the police department about the planned raid. The same could be said about you because the reports show that you knew about the gang and their stash in the countryside. I started tapping on the table with my fingers. What I hear from you is that you're both incompetent. How do we solve this issue so it never happens again? I think this was the last drop. Internal security matters should be handed to the Ministry of Interior completely. We call Ministry of the Interior for a reason. Can't let any more scripts like this happen again. Shoot it to me. I want the gendarmerie to be transferred to the Ministry of Interior. What? Woman, are you out of your mind? Joseph turned red with anger. He composed himself after a moment. Looking at it from the perspective of improving our internal security, I agree with Miss Graff. We would reap the benefits in the long run. Look, Mr. Glade, I know you are new at this and there is much that you have not been briefed about, but... Mr. Lancia, you're forgetting who I am. Ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. I won't hand over the gendarmerie to her. Out of the question. Do you have a better solution, Joseph? Whenever operations overlap, we should engage at a low rank with the local officers on both sides. We could work on establishing this, but it still doesn't change the wrong system that exists now. I want to remind you about your promise, Mr. President. What promise? I don't remember any promises I made. I actually don't remember any promises I made. Tell me. I see, it was for to trust you that you keep to your word. What promise? Now I see what is going on here. What do you mean? Lily set us up to create this incident, and Lily bit her lips. What proof do you have? There's no way that the police had arrived at the right time of a months-long search on the exact day and minute of the gendarmerie raid. Let's take it down a notch with the accusations. This kind of accusation is unheard of. It's nonsense. If I were you, I wouldn't believe a word Mr. Lancier says, Mr. President. But heed my word. When dealing with these situations, you always need to look at who gets what out of it. I won't stand idly by while these utterly ridiculous and baseless accusations are thrown at me. I don't have time for this. What is your decision? No, I'm sorry, the gendarmerie is going to stand to Joseph. Although, first of all, I don't want to annoy the military, and secondly, it's going to really cause some issues if everyone's under the same... I think if all the security is under one banner, there's a slight chance it's going to go wrong, so no, there'll be no change to the gendarmerie operations. You're making a mistake. Disappointing. Here I thought Anton Rain was a man of his word. Thank you for protecting the structure and authority of the Ministry of Defence. You better back me up, Joseph, when things become a major issue. You better support me. Because I've been fighting hard for you, Joseph. From now on, work together and don't fight amongst each other. I want capable and effective members of the Cabinet. We will do our best, right, Mr. Lancier? That's right, Miss Graff. I left the room to attend my next scheduled meeting. I don't think Miss Graff is going to be all too happy with us, but that's kind of her own fault. Okay, so the healthcare situation next. I had a meeting scheduled with Pascal to receive the annual healthcare report. He arrived in my office with stacks of papers underneath both arms. Mr. President. He put the mountain of papers on my desk and it made a loud thudding sound. I know this seems like a lot. Reviewing it shouldn't take more than a day. Maybe 2. Very well, thanks for bringing it in. No problem at all. They contain very important information about the status of our healthcare, salaries, expenditures, hospital reports, whatever you like. We can go through this together. Okay, let's begin. I could summarise it, but I think it's probably for the best. Oh, okay, he's going to summarise on our behalf. Wonderful. I breathed a sigh of relief as he put on his reading glasses to look at the documents he was holding. So we have concluded our report for the year. Thanks to the allocated funds, we have improved the healthcare in the country overall. I've used the resources to begin a comprehensive health reform. We have more patients treated, less waiting times, and higher treatment quality than the year before. That's great to hear. Thank you for your hard work, Pascal. This wouldn't be possible without your wise decision, Mr. President, so thank you. We're currently on the right path to challenge even Nespia or Vegasland in the matter, but we are not there yet. However, give it a few more years and we might even surpass them. We need to get on the level of superpowers. It will take effort, however, if we stay for another term, I'm sure we will. Moving on. The investments we poured into our rural health facilities have paid off greatly. The quality of care increased due to the upgraded equipment, and we were able to hire more healthcare staff. Excellent, the people in the countryside deserve better health services. Yes, they've been neglected for a long time due to political reasons, not anymore. All these efforts have resulted in a clear increase in quality in health services provided to our citizens. Now that I've given you a short summary, there's a very important matter to discuss. Leaning over to grab his briefcase, he pulled out a tan-coloured package. The package was stamped with big red letters that read confidential. Pascal opened the package and brought out a few documents, and then handed them over to me. It was a report from the Ministry of Health. Each page had a stamp on it that read for the President's eyes only. The report was titled Polio Outbreak in Bergia. How bad is it? For now it seems to be under control. We have put a few villages under quarantine. The total number of infected is currently 1467, the death toll at 23. If we have more outbreaks, the results will be terrible. Thankfully, we have received the additional funding to our healthcare. That should curb the infection ratio, although I'm afraid that may not even be enough. This is a very serious matter, Mr. President. The lives of the Swedish citizens are at stake. What can we do about it? We have done our research. There is a cure. A vaccine was recently invented in United Contana, and the formula has been made available for free across the entire world. No matter what people think about United Contana, if the same thing had been happening in Arcasia, we'd be paying a steep price for it. Thanks to the very good decision made by you to increase funding for our healthcare, we have the capability to produce this vaccine locally. But I'm afraid simply having the vaccine won't help. We need to make sure they're administered. We need to implement a nationwide mandatory polio vaccination policy. With your order, I can immediately get to work to ensure we are doing whatever it takes. This might seem excessive, however, it's an absolute necessity. Ooh. Mandatory. Do it. Get it done. If you'll excuse me, I must get to work immediately. He got up from his seat. Thank you for your time, Mr. President. He left my office, leaving me alone with a lot of paperwork to go through. Epidemic prevented. Mandatory vaccination. I'm not sure everyone's going to be too happy about that. But thankfully we did have the additional... Thankfully we had the additional economy to be able to deal with it. Epidemic prevented. The Ministry of Health's prompt actions and effective measures have successfully prevented the epidemic from spreading, thereby affecting a major health crisis in Swordland. Wonderful. Always useful. Okay. Less smoke bill. The Assembly passes an amendment to the Tax Bill of 1944 in order to increase tax revenue and reduce the excessive amount of tobacco consumption in the general populace. Section 1 of the TB of 44, which had imposed 10% tax on all tobacco products, will be increased to 30% on all tobacco products sold in the country. Section 2 will protect local industries by giving them full tax exemption if the products are destined for export to other countries. Yes, we'll sign that. Gives us a little bit of budget and may not help our economy actually. But it might help our health. It may not help our economy, but it might help our healthcare system. So I'd say that's still worth doing. Desolinization has begun, starting with the removal of Tarquin's statue from Capitol Park. By the end of this month, it is expected that hundreds of similar statues, portraits, and other likenesses will be removed from every city and town in Swordland. And let's carry on with the health. There was a significant budget left in the Ministry of Health that we can spend on several different programs in order to improve healthcare in Swordland further. Funds can be used to create a medical scholarship, build a state-of-the-art medical facility, give free eye tests or dental care. I'm gonna say eye tests because that's gonna help the general public. They'll be happier. It means that less people will have issues getting to work, and may also help with, help with traffic accidents and hampering rural students' abilities to drive. Potentially, also, it will help with our armed forces, which may or may not actually happen. I don't know. But we're doing pretty well in terms of our healthcare, so I'd like to keep it up. Because even if we can't save the economy, if we can save the healthcare, that's the main thing. Okay, as I stepped through the front door of our state residence, a sense of tranquility washed over me. The house was quiet, almost too quiet, without Frank blasting his music from upstairs. I entered the grand study, and the warm glow of the room enveloped me. Monica was sitting by the fireplace, even with a very old-looking book in her hands. Sitting in the armchair next to her. Oh, I didn't realise you were home. Is everything really going well at work? Especially after everything that happened with Peter. Peter who? No. I wish it had all gone differently. I understand, but honestly, maybe it was all for the best in the end. Thanks to you, I was just about the only woman at university he didn't go after. But I saw the way he was, and how he continued to be. The truth is, that man has always been a bad influence on you, and I don't think he should be given after what he did. I know Peter had his problems, Monica, but he was, and is, my closest friend. I don't want to badmouth him behind his back. I know. I'm sorry. I don't know, Anton. All this seems to put you under a massive amount of stress. Indeed. Maybe we can take some time for a little getaway. That'd be nice. We can have a weekend retreat out in the countryside. What do you think? That sounds marvellous, Monica. Let me make the arrangements. Wonderful. Just then we heard the patter of small feet approach the study. Dina approached the door with a piece of folded paper clutched in her hand. Mama, Papa, my school report came in. Monica and I immediately turned our attention to her, our curiosity piqued. That's my girl, I can't wait to hear about it. Dina unfolded the paper and gave it to me. I was so close to the top of the class. I heard a mixture of pride and disappointment in her voice. Almost doesn't count, honey. Sounds like you've got to try harder. That's incredible, Dina. You've worked hard and it shows. Let's try and encourage her as opposed to being incredibly sarcastic. You did great, darling. We're so proud of you. She knelt down and gathered Dina into her arms. I know, but I still feel kind of bad. I'm sure I would have been at the top if the boys at school weren't so annoying. Ever since they started letting the girls take science classes, they've been distracting us during the exams. And the teachers don't even care. And there's that stupid blonde boy, Marcus. He never even studies, but teachers always give him higher grades than everyone else. Don't call him stupid, baby. Who's this Marcus? I told you about him, Mummy. Marcus Clavin, the one who can't even do basic math, remember? Your mother's right, Dean. Forget about it. You've already done great. That's going to be the child of Alvin Clavin, isn't it? Anyway, are you hungry? I didn't cook for us today, but the chef prepared a wonderful Rizian meal for us. Great, I'm starving. She grabbed Dina's hand and we walked to the kitchen together. We might need to have a little bit of a chat with Alvin Clavin if he's got his kids some special some special access or special rights at the church. I have to say. Okay. High economic synergy between Grunite and Bergia. A high degree of economic synergy is being observed between the regions of Grunite and Bergia. A series of strategic investments coupled with increased economic interaction have facilitated this alignment. The synergy is not only boosting the economies of both regions, but also promoting long-term growth potential and stability. Sounds like we're actually doing mildly competently for once. Right. The Remembrance Rally of the Ashraf anniversary is about to begin in Suzerain. The Bluish movement is holding their largest rally yet to display their demands and strength. Due to the activity of the BFF in the area, the security detail advises to take caution. The administration can go to Suzerain to support the event with or without an armoured convoy, or not attend it at all. We would attend to support without the armoured convoy. We need to put on a good face for the Bloods. Purely because we've not treated them particularly well during our time in office. So let's go see if this ends up well or getting us assassinated. On our way to Zara, we stopped to meet with the local police chief, Ionis Visser, to discuss how the abolishment of the zone was faring for the locals. The city had been of particular importance to the British people ever since the Islam incident and the death of Watani Ashraf over 2 decades ago. Today we're here to commemorate the anniversary of those events. The ceremonies were to be held in the aptly named Islam Square, several blocks away from Lake Seoul and the sunken ruins of the village of Islam. We entered the historic centre in the presidential Kadila. The streets were littered with broken glass and the walls defaced with graffiti. I sensed a heavy regional police presence. Our convoy could barely fit through the narrow streets, disrupting local traffic and creating noisy chaos in the usually tranquil city. Pedestrians stared at us with concern as we and our security forces drove through the square. I must say, sir, this was a good decision. This will help ease tensions. I hope so. If we play our cards right, I am certain. We are almost there. I can hear the crowd. I hear the shouts and chanting from the other side, from outside. Lucy leaning close to the window, listening to our voices. They're telling us to go back to where we came from. A large crowd had assembled in the square. There are nearly 10,000 people. Most of them were yelling insults and obscenities at me. As the convoy slowed down, a young bluish man ran in front of our convoy and splat on my window. That's fine. We're not going to do anything. Let's not try and get ourselves killed. My driver exited the vehicle and opened the door for me. The crowd before me had signs in their hands protesting my decision to centralise Bergia. We were greeted by Mansoon Leke. He wore a coat over his suit, which was marked with the red and turquoise stripes of the Bluish movement's flag. He moved forward to greet us. Welcome to Suzerain, Mr. President. We'll shake his hand. Let's not be weird. Mr. Leke? Mr. Glade, welcome. Shall we move on to the sanctuary then? We made our way to the sanctuary, which stood at the end of the square. A much smaller replica of the Ankh sanctuary in Dea. The ancient building had a mystical aura, emanating from its blackened walls. We entered the building through the ornamented large metal gates. As we walked, the noise of the crowd faded out, and everyone fell silent for the ceremony. Thousands of candles were buzzing inside the sanctuary, one for each person that died in Islam. The red candle in the centre was for Watani Ashraf. Mansoon gestured towards the candles. We're not going to pick up the red candle, we'll pick up a candle. He picked up a candle for Ashraf and started walking out. Many others followed suit, including us. The atmosphere outside had completely changed. Not a simple noise came from the crowd. We slowly walked towards Ashraf's grave. On the way, hundreds of people joined us. Someone from the crowd shouted at me, breaking the silence. Don't mock the dead, you racist dog. You have to find that candle in your hands. No, we're not going to get him to be detained. It would only confirm what he's accusing us of. I ignored the man and kept walking. When we arrived, he pointed a huge standing torch above the grave. Ooh. Light the torch together with Monsoon? We lit the torch together. I turned around and realised the sheer amount of people who were following us. They were all looking at me, waiting to hear what I would say. Brothers and sisters. We're here to mourn Mortani Ashraf and many others who lost their lives. Do we condemn the events? Because this is a soul thing, isn't it? It's to do with the soul dam. Started by all of Tarkin's soul. I'm standing here as one of you. I assure you this administration will do its absolute best to mend the wounds. And all men from the crowd yelled bullshit. Despite these kinds of attempts to divide us, we will be united as one. Let me finish, pay no attention. Despite these kinds of attempts to divide us, we will be united as one, we work together. We must always stay together in the face of adversity against all odds. Are they going to like that if I say that? Probably not. But I'm going to say it anyway. Mistakes were made. The innocent people of Islam paid the price. We cannot let the past divide us. I feel responsible and ashamed for the actions of my predecessors. Most of them all, I feel the inspiration to remove this black mark from our history. I need help from each and every one of you to make this country a better place for everyone. To our unity. There was no reaction from the crowd, only silence. Monsoon leading closer to me. I must admit, Mr. President, that was a good speech. Thank you. He extended his hand to me for a handshake. We will also shake his hand. Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if any of this really makes a difference after what you've done against the British people. Still, you came here to Suzerain after the anniversary of the incident. That's a good start. Lucien rushed over to me. Sir, it's time to go. We started making our way back to the convoy. Well done, sir. This will prove very useful in the upcoming elections. What's the rush? The whole trip runs on schedule, sir. The convoy needs to start driving now, or else we won't make it back on time. We entered our vehicles and started making our way back home from Suzerain. Okay, the bluish problem situation updated. Still only yellow. It's not red, but it's not exactly green either. And our law has got no green situations, whereas our welfare has got a ton of them. Green welfare, we're doing pretty well as a welfare state. Right, briefly on the current political situation. I walked to the White Room with a cup of coffee in my hand. My Vice President had scheduled a meeting on the current political situation. I opened the door and entered the room, and Lucien immediately stood up. Good morning, sir. Good morning. I wanted to provide you with some quick updates on the political situation. He brought out a few documents from a briefcase and laid them on the table. Mr. Hollis reported to me that he's almost finished drafting his new plan for the economy. He says he wants to solidify the plan before it's ready to be presented to you. He'll schedule a meeting soon to go over our options. I'll be expecting good ideas and even better outcomes. Of course, I'll relay this to him as soon as it's possible. He closed the folder and put away his documents. Moving on. Next it's time to talk about our election prospects. Lucien took out a new set of documents. I caught a glimpse of colourful charts and graphs. I just received the results of the voter poll commissioned by Peter Vecton shortly before his departure. To put it in plain language, it's not promising. Bad, even. The USP stands to lose up to 20% of the vote compared to 1953. Tell to me straight, do we still have a chance? We still have a year to gain more votes, but we've got to think strategically. Fortunately, your new Vice President also happens to be an excellent strategist. Oh, look at you, Lucien. Horrible drinking buddy, though. Alcohol dulls my reflexes. You should consider giving it up yourself. Lucien shuffles some papers around. Looking at the demographics of the voters polled, our support amongst Conservatives has plummeted. We can no longer count on the vote at all, to be expected. The Liberal base appears divided, but you have a considerable number of supporters there. For better or worse, you've got certainly unpopular with the Nationalists. The Socialist left is divided nearly in half in its support for you. Unsurprisingly, none of the British poll respondents said they were planning on voting for you. Lastly, we can't expect votes from centrists and unaffiliated voters unless we do something to win them over. So what do you suggest? Lucian smiled and bowed his head slightly. Thank you, Mr. President. This might sound like a common sense, but a convincing enough campaign can succeed where policies fail. Even if you opted not to focus on your campaign at the moment, I still advise you to seize every chance for exposure that you can. I'll take that into account. Good. On another note, there is a not insignificant portion of undecided voters who don't care who occupies the Maroon Palace, as long as the economy is running smoothly. Propping up the economy just ahead of the election is a surefire way to win them over. That's what I'm trying to. Thanks for the advice. I'm trying to, Lucian, but it's not going very well. Our country seems to be stable so far, but we should avoid further crisis if we want to come out of this term strong. There is some worrying news. The Lothberg group is up to something. My informants have been talking about frequent meetings happening between the oligarchs. There's one last thing you should know about. He looked over at the door to make sure it was closed. I have reason to support that Lily Scraff will attempt to challenge you for the USP leadership. How do you know? I've merely been keeping my ear to the ground, as always. At any rate, if any suspicions are true, you'll need as many allies within the party as possible. Please keep this close to your chest, sir. You know how much power Miss Graff wields in these halls. Any other advice? That was everything on my end. Excellent, good work. Lucian smiled, and I left the room to attend my next meeting. Lily Scraff, going to be the one who comes after us, I see. Ooh, this is going to be a big decision. From Minister Atsin, I can't say that name, of United Contana, backed by Chairman Leon Malianov, has presented an expansive agricultural aid proposal to Solent. The comprehensive package includes substantial financial investment, logistical assistance, and advanced farming equipment in Valgan's agricultural sector. Echoing the ambitious vision of Mr. Hall and Manger, the Contanan proposal dovetails with Solent's industrial expansion plan, signaling a new era of agricultural prosperity. So this is the Federalist Socialist Republic, the United Contanan. They want navy rights. Is that going to be a problem? I will accept the agricultural investment aid. We need the money boost, really, or the economy boost, I should say. So I will happily take an expansion program, because that's just going to help everything, I would say, going forward. A large expansion program presents several options to improve industrial capabilities. Mr. Hall and Major have prepared a massive industrial expansion plan that can support several key industries in the country through state investments. Solo could become a much more competitive and hub for new industries with this initiative. Military, electronics, or automotive? Or nothing at all. -2 government budget. I'm going to go for the automotive industry because I should go for something. I mean, it'll put us down to -7, but I'm hoping we can get some of that government budget back. We'll invest in the military, actually. The military really should like us by this point. We've been looking after them for a great, great while. Chapter 4. Checkmate. I believe the final chapter. Chapter 4, I believe, is kind of the final part of this all. The Women's Liberation Act. In collaboration with the Commission on the Status of Women, the GNA presents the Women's Liberation Act, aimed at promoting gender equality and women's rights through Solent. Section 1 takes decisive action against domestic violence perpetrated against women. Yes, that's fine. Section 1A of the WA establishes a system of state protection for victims of domestic abuse. Oh, that sounds too... That's another -2 to the government budget. We're going to sign it, but that's put us down to -9. We've got excellent women's rights, which is our first major positive in terms of law. But we just lost another... Well, not lost, we've invested -4. Government budget. So we have to find a way to recoup that, and we only have a year left to do so. It was raining as Sergei dropped me off at home after yet another grueling day of work. A guard held my umbrella over my head as I walked from the car to my front door. Inside the house was completely dark. I put on the light in the kitchen to find a note from Monica. Kira had called her for a last-minute women's rights meeting. She dropped Diana for her friends and left me some food for reheating. I took the pot out of the fridge. It was filled with an unidentifiable greyish-looking stew. Evidently, Monica's excellent cooking had been the first casualty of her political career. We'll reheat the stew. I sighed and put the pot on the stove. While it was heating up, I went to the living room to fix myself a drink. Suddenly the phone rang, and I went back to the kitchen to answer it. Frank's voice was on the other end. Oh, I thought Mum would pick up. Sorry, you're stuck with your old man. I didn't mean it that way, I just figured you'd be working. I got that record you sent me. Not too bad for old folks' music. You take that back. Oh no, I'm glad you liked it. How's Uncle Peter doing? I haven't heard from him since the press conference. Okay. It's so messed up what he did. Some of the professors here were hoping you'd hire a new VP who push you closer to Malinovism. The cabinet chooses the candidates, Frank. I don't have many choices. Pick up any useful ideas over there? I mean, they're obviously doing something right. You must think so too, or you would have made that deal with Vegasland. An astute observation. Maybe you're learning something over there after all. Oh, I am. My head's been stuffed with sawdish propaganda since the day I was born. Right now, I feel like I'm thinking clearly for the first time. If you like it over there so much, don't ever bother coming home. I'm happy you're opening your mind. Just stay away from reefer. I suddenly became aware of a smoking smell from the kitchen, and my dinner was burning. Good catching up with you, Frank. Yeah, okay. Bye, Dad. I raced to the stove and turned off the burner. The bottom of the pot was charred, but the part of the mystery stew was still salvageable. I ate alone by the flickering light of the television, wondering whether Monica and Dina would get home anytime soon. Oh, budget. What just happened? Oh, we're in freefall. What was that? There was a tariff or something. Trade tariffs imposed. That's not good. -13, and look at our economic growth. Let's have a look at these acts before we deal with the economy crisis. Human Dignity Bill is set to come in. Allows transactions involving non-registered businesses or the entities involving individuals to be legalised, provided that accurate documentation was submitted by the financial authority. Yeah, that can be signed, that's okay. So we've signed 10 bills, so we've got Human Dignity Acts. Okay, that's a positive thing. And Children for Future. Another government budget that we don't have. We're going to sign it anyway, because if we're at -13, we may as well be at -14. Okay. The mounting government budget deficit and sustainable borrowing has led to concerns amongst investors and analysts about the nation's ability to service its debt. Solid now faces a serious debt crisis. This lack of confidence has resulted in increased borrowing costs, a reduction in foreign investment, and a risk of potential default, which could have far-reaching consequences for the Swedish economy. I didn't realise that everything else would be coming up. That I'd have to deal with, and that's not good. A discussion of current internal affairs. A storm was on the horizon outside my window. The inside of my office, however, was very warm and cosy. I straightened myself on the sofa next to the fireplace and looked at Mansoon, who was sitting on the couch across from me. He was here representing all 8 British members of the Assembly. He had dark creases under his eyes from lack of sleep. As I said, we've been working this bill for a long time, Mr. President. I've always done my best to represent my people, only to keep getting blocked in the Assembly. We can't have the same happen again. I've always brought my people's concerns to the Assembly and raised my voice whenever our rights are in question. All that we ask is that the Assembly at least have a proper discussion. But that is not all. But all we get is disrespect. MPs shouting racial slurs, not allowing us to speak, and it's not only to the National Front. He stopped for a moment to reposition himself in a seat. I don't even remember a time when Mrs. Tory allowed me to finish a speech. The Assembly doesn't take us independence seriously, and you, Mr. President, have approved anti-British policies. I know, or want to believe, that you only did this to appease your base. I'm here to ask you to reconsider your stance. We can make a difference in Scotland together. It's true that I have some regrets of my actions, but how can I help you? We should start by undoing your regrets, Mr. President. You did not protect Ishval Urson and allowed the court to appoint a fascist as Governor Berger. Are you aware of the actions of the Ministry of the Interior? How she's making life difficult for some locals, what her policy is doing to her, to some of our leaders. You targeted our language and banned it in our schools. What are these laws if not attempt at cultural genocide? It's time to undo these mistakes, Mr. President. What do you ask me to do? We have a proposal to give amnesty to those who are falsely arrested for giving ties to the Democratic British Freedom Party. Pass it out as a decree. You don't need the Assembly. And let us independents form a commission for minority rights. Ooh. I'll do it, but we need to be a little bit careful about that. I need your support going forward, Mansoon Leke. This means a lot, thank you. Suddenly we heard a knock on the door and Lucien entered. Sir, I'm sorry, I thought the meeting was over. Mr. President has already decided. We can call it over, Mr. Gallade. I was already leaving. Great, then we must go to the meeting room, sir. One of our new campaign advisors has some plans for the election. He's waiting for us. Reconciliation process. We're starting to reconciliate. Oh my goodness, so much stuff. Fun political youth group. Nope, not a chance. Not with the way the money is going at the moment. I'm so sorry. I'd love to, but it's just not feasible. Alcohol Tax Act. One government budget. Absolutely, sign that in. It's also going to somewhat help our growth as well, and that also should help with welfare in terms of reduction in alcohol consumption. Yes, look at that. So many greens in the welfare tab. And you go over to law and economy. And it's just utterly dreadful. And the Fair Luxury Tax Act. +2 government budget. I feel like we have to sign it really to get our government budget back under wrap and key. I don't know if that's going to have a positive or negative effect on, if we go back, is that going to have a positive or negative effect on our economy for the situations? Increased luxury good prices, that's just a yellow. Okay. Interesting, very interesting indeed. Government budget's now back down to -11, so it's not bad. The Queen of Rumburg Beatrice Livingston demands reparations to be paid for the Swordland by the 15-day war that occurred in 1870. The Foreign Ministry sees a realistic potential for lasting peace between Swordland and Rumburg if these reparations are paid. That was nearly 80 years ago for a 15-day war. And Rumburg invaded. So no. Not a chance. Especially as we don't have the money to really be spending. Emergency call and escalating situation. Ooh. This is going to be interesting. I was woken up in the middle of the night by a call from the Ministry of Defence. Due to sensitivity of information, I had to be urgently briefed in person. I put on my clothes as fast as I could. I rushed downstairs and opened the door. Sergei was waiting for me. Mr. President, this way to the car, please. We got into the car and made our way to the Ministry of Defence building without a word. I arrived and was quickly directed downstairs. I came to a set of large doors and quickly read the sign above them. The sign read War Room. The dimly lit room was filled with cutting-edge equipment, the latest video screens, long-range equipment and electronics, used for communication, presentation and planning. The centrepiece of the room was a large round table with the coat of arms of Swordland engraved on it. David, Lucien, Vulcan, and Joseph were already deep in discussion. Mr. Lancier, I advise caution. Going to war wouldn't help anyone. We must maintain peace in Solent and Eastern Maricopa at all costs. What do you expect us to do? Sit around and do nothing? They're testing us. We must respond immediately, otherwise they think we are weak. What's going on? Mr. President, thank you for coming here at this late hour. There is a situation. Vulcan, please go ahead and provide your report. Mr. President, apparently 20 minutes ago, Romberg downed one of our planes with anti-aircraft fire from the ground. The pilot was declared KIA. The last recorded position of the plane was inside Swedish airspace. General Kruger, I mean no offence, but are we absolutely sure that that's the case? Are you absolutely sure this has happened within our borders? No offence taken. Here are the locations on the map and the report from the airbase. He pointed to several markers on the map. To answer your question, yes, we are absolutely sure. You can see here on the map that the plane was down approximately 10 kilometres inside our borders. We have calculated the trajectory of the gunfire and they started firing when our plane was within our border. The plane was down near Haugen. We need to... this is terrible, what should we do? We need to open diplomatic channels to start an official investigation. Most importantly, we need to remain calm. We must maintain peace. I agree. They're trying to lure us into their trap. We have enough military power to contest this against violation of international law. An eye for an eye, that is what we need to do. We should attack and down one of their planes in retaliation. We can't look weak. If we appear weak, they will jump on this opportunity. We must, in order military retaliation immediately. I agree with the General. Mr. President, our army is ready to go to do whatever it takes to protect Solent. Gentlemen, before it comes to that point, we can prevent further bloodshed by using diplomacy. The room fell silent before Joseph finally spoke up. Mr. President, what are your orders? We're going to try the diplomatic route and see how things go. Lucian's tense up shoulders relaxed. Thank you, sir. I'll immediately begin working on it. With Mr. Whiskey's capabilities, I'm sure that we will de-escalate the situation successfully. We will keep you updated on our progress. We should be retaliated. I have the diplomatic response make sure that further incidents like this are prevented. If there is the next time, I'm afraid that it will be war. We are showing weakness. Of course it will be a war the next time round. Frankly, I'm disappointed, Mr. President. If we can't even retaliate under such an attack, what will become of the country in the future? Peace must be maintained at all costs. I'm saying this as a man who's seen too many years of war. We are not the ones who are attacking the peace. Regardless, it looks like your decision has been made, Mr. President. I know when I am not needed. I will take my leave. Before he left the room, he saluted. Well, now that we know the way forward, I have an idea, Mr. President. I think we should hold a military parade to display our strength. I'm with Miss Lancy on this one. That will work well as a deterrent and will come in handy as a tool to de-escalate the situation. That is a good idea. Simple and effective without causing any ruckus. Yes, you can organise the military parade, that's okay. Understood. That's all, Mr. President. I'll keep you updated on the situation. For now, have a good night's sleep. You will need it. I'm not going to sleep at all that night. Oh, urgent meeting on potential alliances. Well, I think we will leave that off there. I think we are actually managing to create quite a good life for our citizens. We are, in terms of welfare, doing very well. Look at this. Improved working conditions, good urban constitutions, quality rural health services, epidemic prevented, eye tests of public, alcohol consumption reduced, children benefits, greater quality in education, and tobacco consumption reduced. It has, however, come at a cost of our government budget, and we do have a potential war on the horizon, so we'll have to see how things go. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.